Good morning everybody. This is part 6 of the series of videos. However, as far as the this article by Drizin and Leo, this is part 3, methodology and sources of data. The present study breaks new ground as the largest collection of interrogation-induced false confession cases ever assembled and analysed in the research literature. This article aggregates 125 false confessions. To assemble this cohort, the authors systematically identified disputed confessions primarily through electronic media and legal database searches, and secondly from other sources of information such as police reports, trial transcripts, articles and books discovered directly or brought to the author's attention by others. Once the authors identified a disputed confession case, we attempted to compile as much source material on the case as possible. In all cases, the authors made an attempt to locate and then contact the confessor's attorney, and in some cases the court case in which the case went to trial, if it did in fact go to trial. In some cases, we were able to compile vast amounts of information on the disputed confession, such as interrogation transcripts and audio or videotapes, police reports, preliminary hearing and other pre-trial hearing transcripts, interviews with police interrogators and suspects, trial transcripts, depositions, published appellate court decisions, and other case materials. In other cases, we were left only with the facts reported in newspaper stories, despite our determined efforts to acquire more information about the case. Only one other study in the research literature, Richard Leo and Richard Offshay's 1998 analysis of the consequences of 60 false confession cases, has compiled a database comparable to the one in this article. This study, however, differs from Leo and Offshay's in two significant ways. First, this article includes more than twice as many cases of interrogation-induced false confessions as Leo and Offshay's. And second, unlike Leo and Offshay, this article includes only interrogation-induced false confessions that can be classified as proven. That is, confessions that are indisputably false because at least one piece of dispositive evidence objectively establishes beyond any doubt that the confessor could not possibly have been the perpetrator of the crime. By contrast, Leo and Offshay included not only proven false confessions, but also highly probable and probable false confessions, interrogation-induced false confessions that they classified at lower levels of certainty. There are only 4 ways or types of situation in which a disputed confession can be classified as proven beyond any doubt to be indisputably false. Thus, all the proven false confessions included in this study fell into one of the following 4 categories. The first situation occurs when it can be objectively established that the suspect confessed to a crime that did not happen. This is what happened in the case of Diane Tucker, Medell Banks and Victoria Banks, 3 mentally retarded defendants who were convicted by an Alabama jury of killing Banks's newborn child. After the 3 had served several years in prison, scientific testing determined that Miss Banks was incapable of giving birth to a child. She had a tubal ligation operation which prevented her from getting pregnant. The second type of situation that can result in a disputed false confession being classified as proven false confessions occur when it can be objectively established that the defendant could not have committed the crime, that it would have been, in effect, physically impossible for the subject to have committed the crime. For example, in 3 different Chicago cases, Mario Hayes, Miguel Castillo, and Peter Williams, jail records proved that the defendants were in jail at the time the crimes were committed. The third type of situation in which a disputed confession can be classified as a proven false confession occurs when the perpetrator of a crime is identified and his guilt can be objectively established. The case of Christopher Ochoa is a prime example. Ochoa, a former high school honour student, and confessed to the rape and murder of Nancy DePriest in an Austin, Texas Pizza Hut in 1988. He was freed in 2001 when Achi Marino, a convict with a conscience, came forward and admitted that he, and not Ochoa, killed DePriest. Marino led authorities to the weapon used in the crime and the bag in which he placed the money, and DNA testing matched his semen to that found at the crime scene. The fourth and final type of situation in which a disputed confession can be classified as a proven false confession occurs when scientific evidence, in recent years most commonly DNA evidence, dispositively establish the false confessor's innocence. For example, 3 teenage boys, Michael Crow, Joshua Treadway, and Aaron Hauser, was set to stand trial for the 1998 murder of Michael's 12-year-old sister, Stephanie, in Escondido, California, when DNA testing proved that blood found on the sweatshirt of Richard Tute, a mentally ill drifter who had been acting strangely and knocking on doors near Stephanie's home on the night of the murder, was Stephanie's. Charges against the boys were dropped and Tute has been indicted for Stephanie's murder. The author's decision to include only proven false confessions in this article introduces a somewhat conservative bias into our sample, for only a small number of cases involving a disputed confession come with independent case evidence that allows the suspect to prove his or her innocence beyond dispute. Most do not. Actual innocence, as commentators have repeatedly pointed out, is very difficult to verify. It is the rare disputed confession that can be proven indisputably false because... Let me start that again. It is the rare disputed confession that can be proven indisputably false because attempting to do so is akin to the proverbially difficult task of proving the negative. In the typical case, a crime did in fact occur, and it was not physically impossible for the confessor to have committed the crime, even if the facts and evidence suggest that it is extremely unlikely that the confessor did or even could have done so. Moreover, it is rare to find scientific evidence that proves the confessor's factual innocence absolutely, even if there is considerable scientific evidence tending to show that the suspect did not commit the crime, and even if there is other substantial evidence that contradicts or casts doubt on the suspect's confession. Well, that's a bit heavy going. I suppose what they're trying to say is a little bit like when Daniel Kucharski is asked, aliens could have put it there. Well, there's no way of proving that aliens didn't put it there, but it's very highly unlikely. Anyway, carrying on. Specifically, in most disputed confession cases, there is no DNA evidence available to compare with the confessor's DNA, and in many disputed confession cases, DNA evidence that could have definitively resolved the reliability of the confession was not preserved. Finally, it is the rare perpetrator who comes forward to acknowledge his own guilt in order to exonerate the innocent, wrongly convicted false confessor. And on the rare occasion when a true perpetrator comes forward to implicate himself and exonerate the innocent false confessor, such claims are rarely believed by police and prosecutors, who have a vested interest in maintaining that they arrested, prosecuted and convicted the right person the first time round, and typically only credited when an overwhelming amount of independent evidence makes acknowledging the false confession's innocence unavoidable. This too is rare. Okay, we'll stop it there. I said that was pretty heavy going, but we'll catch you again soon, and maybe do them in slightly smaller bite sizes. Anyway, catch you soon. Bye for now.